everyone, this is Sahiti on behalf of Edureka, and I welcome you to this session on UiPath PDF Data Extraction. So this session will basically brief you on all the activities that UiPath offers to extract data from whether PDF is in the native text form or even in the scanned images. Now before we start extracting our data, you need to first install our PDF activities from the Manage Packages section. So for that, let me just open my UiPath. Alright, so now I'll just choose the blank process. And let's say I'll create a new blank process. Let's name it demo for PDF extraction. And then I'll mention the description to be demo again, and I'll click on create. So this will basically create my process, or you can say the project. Now inside this particular project, I'm going to install the PDF activities and perform all the extractions that you're going to see in the session. Alright, so as I was mentioning, before you start extracting data, you need to install the PDF activities, right? So for that, you'll just go to this Manage Packages, and then you'll search for PDF activities. Alright, so as you can see, you have to install this particular package. So for that, you'll just click on the small arrow button that you see, and then you'll click on Save. So once you click on Save, you can see that your dependencies are getting downloaded for the workspace. Now, once the dependencies are downloaded, you'll see that you'll be redirected to this particular window. So let me just quickly go back and explain you the topics for PDF extraction, and then I'll show you how you can do it with UiPath, right? Now that you have your PDF activities installed on your UiPath, let me tell you that there are basically two ways to extract data from PDF. That is basically extracting large text and also extracting specific elements. Now, when I say extracting large text, I mean that either you want to extract a complete text document, or it can happen that you want to extract a text document which also has images, right? So extracting large text would be extracting either the complete text from the document based on the number of pages that you give for the document, or you also can extract images and text together of a large document. And when it comes to extracting specific element, by extracting specific elements, I mean that whenever we want to extract some specific variable or something, right? So let's say if you have any invoice, then I can extract the invoice number, or you can extract the grand total or the tax saved and so on, right? So I'm going to talk about both of them one by one. So initially we're going to start with extracting large text, and once we're done with that, we'll move on to extracting specific elements, right? So let's start with extracting large text. Now to extract large text, there are mainly two options in UiPath. That is either to use the read PDF text activity or to use the read PDF with OCR activity. Now what happens is the read PDF activity is used to extract the data from those PDF files which have only text. So this particular activity is basically used to extract data from those files which have text only. But when it comes to read PDF with OCR activity, this particular activity can be used when you want to extract data with those kinds of PDF files which have a combination of text and images, right? So just in case if you have any image in your PDF, then remember that you have to use the read PDF with OCR activity, else you can go forward with read PDF text, right? So let me just quickly shift back to UiPath and show you how that's done. All right. So now what initially I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a sequence. And then in this particular sequence, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a flowchart. Now I'm dragging and dropping this flowchart since we are going to perform various activities. So I'm just going to use all these activities in the single flowchart. So whichever activity that I want to run, I'll just run that particular activity. So this is one way how you can do your work easily. Now what I'll do is I'll again drag and drop a sequence. And let's say I start with the read PDF activity, right? So let's say extract text. So I'll rename this particular sequence to extract text, and then I'll double click on it. And then over here, I'll search for read PDF activity. So as you can see, when I search for read PDF, we get two options. That is the read PDF text and the read PDF with OCR, right? So first I'm going to show you how you can use the read PDF text. So I'll just drag and drop it over here. Now, once you drag and drop it over here, what you have to mention is the file name or the PDF from which you want the data to be extracted. So let me just show you my sample PDF. So I've opened the sample PDF that I've created to extract the data. So what you see from this particular paragraph, that this is the complete text and this particular code is an image, right? So what we're going to do is first we're going to extract the text from here. So what I'll simply do is I'll just mention the part for this particular PDF. So I'll go to this three dots option. I'll go to desktop and then I'll choose the name of the PDF, that is hands-on, and then I'll click on open. So now this activity knows which PDF has to be read and from where the data has to be extracted. Now to see the output, what you can do over here is either you can put a message box or you can put a write text activity, right? So let's just search for write text and then I'll drag and drop it over here. So I'll just drag and drop this write text activity. Now what I have to do is I'll have to mention the file name for the write text. So let's say I'll mention in this particular folder and I'll mention the output file to be hands-on, right? And then I'll click on save. Now after I'm done with that, I'll have to mention the output. So before you do that, you have to mention the output variable in the read PDF text activities. So you can just go to the properties pane that is on the right side of the window, and to just set a variable, you can just press on Control K and then mention the variable's name, let's say output, and then we'll mention the output variable over here, right? So why the UiPath understands that we want the data that has been extracted to be written into this particular text file. Also, let me search for a message box and I'll drag and drop it over here. And then over here, we'll again mention the output variable, right? So I hope that the read PDF text activity is clear. You just have to mention the path of the file that from which the data has to be extracted, and then you can write the output to a text file, message box, or any other string activities. So I'll just click on debug. Alright, so as you can see that the complete text present in the PDF has got extracted. So you don't understand where the image is or even it got extracted or not, right? So for that, what I'll simply do is I'll go to the read PDF text activity. In the range section, what I'll do is I'll just mention 1. Now I'm mentioning 1 over here. That's because our image is in the first page. So I'm just mentioning 1 so that we understand if the image is getting extracted or not. So over here, let me tell you one more thing. You can mention n number of pages that you want. Like initially I had mentioned all. That means all the pages in the PDF. Now I'm just mentioning the 1. That means the first page. Or you can also mention a range like 1 to 5 or 5 to all. That means, from the 5th page, it would get extracted to all the pages left in the PDF, right? So that's how you can do. So I'm just mentioning 1 over here so that it's clear to us. Now I'll again click on debug to see the execution. All right, so you can clearly see in the message box that, our data has got extracted. Let's just compare it with the PDF that we have. So you can see that, our text has just got extracted and the image did not get extracted, right? So that's how it's really clear that, the image doesn't get extracted with the read PDF text activity. So just in case if you just have only text in your PDF, then I would suggest you can go for this particular activity. Now, apart from that, let's also see our hands-on file that we created. So I'll just search for hands-on and you can clearly see that text has got extracted, right? So that's how, guys, you can use this particular activity. Now moving forward to the next activity, that is the read PDF with OCR activity. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the flow chart, and over here I'm going to again drag and drop a sequence, and then let's mention the name of the sequence to be extract images also, right? So I'm going to just mention it to be extract images, and I'm going to put the flow charts arrow to be over here so that the execution starts from extract images. Now I'm going to double click over here, go to the sequence, and then I'm going to drag the read PDF OCR activities. So I'm going to drag and drop it over here. Now again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mention the file path from which the data has to be extracted. So I'm going to mention the same file, that is our hands-on file. So let me just quickly do that, right? Now one thing that I want to tell you over here is the read PDF with OCR activity needs an OCR engine to execute this particular automation. So for that, what you can simply do is you can just search for OCR in your activity section and go to the engines section that you can see over here. You can see all the engines that you have installed on your UiPath. So I'm going to just use the Google OCR engine. So as you can see in the properties section, every engine has its own parameters like the allowed characters, the denied characters, the exact words, invert, language, profile, and scale, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just again use a message box and a write text activity so that we can see the output. So I'll just search for message box and drag and drop it over here, and also the write text activity, right? Now in this particular section, I'll mention the output variables. So for that, again, you can press on Control K, mention output. That is basically the output variable. And then I'll use the output variable over here and mention the file name. So let's say, we mentioned the file name to be hands-on2, right? Now similarly in the message box, I'll mention the variable name, right? So that's how you can do. Now what I'll simply do is I'll just execute this particular section so that you understand. So I'll click on debug. So on the right hand side, you can see that, the execution is happening. So once the execution is executed, you'll see the output in the message box that, even the text from the image is getting extracted. All right. So again, what happened is our complete PDF got extracted. Now to get a better understanding of what is getting extracted or not, I'll just go to the read PDF with OCR section again and mention the range to be 1. That's because our image is in the first page. So you can play around it with it. So if you have the image in your 10th page, you can extract the data till the 10th page, or you can just extract that particular page to understand the concept, right? So I'm just going to mention this one over here, and then I'm going to click on debug again. So as you can see, the output, the data has got extracted. Now let me just open our file and show you. So as you can see, in 1961, to scuba diving is our text, which has got extracted. And also after that, we had an image which says the path to success is to take massive determined action. So that has also been converted to text and it has got extracted, right? So let me just quickly confirm this over the write text activity also. So I'll just search for hands-on 2. And then I'll open it to see the output. So if you see the output, you can clearly see that the path to success is to take massive determined action, that is, which was an image, has also been extracted, right? So that's how, guys, PDF with OCR activity extracts both the images and the text. So as its name suggests, this activity basically uses the optical character recognition to scan the images inside the PDF document, and then it outputs all the text as a variable that we mentioned over here, right? So that's how you can use both these activities, guys. Now, before I close this section, let me tell you one more interesting thing over here. That is basically both the read PDF text activity and the read PDF with OCR activity are self-contained. So when I say self-contained, I mean that you don't need the applications open, right? So even if our PDF was closed and it was not open, it will still extract the data from the PDF and would give the output, right? So that means, both these activities can run in the background, which is one good plus point when you want to extract data, right? So now, apart from both these options, there's also one more interesting option, that is using the screen scraping wizard. So you might be wondering, right, how you can use the screen scraping wizard. So whenever you want to scrape the data from your image, or you want to scrape the data from text or any particular document, you can just use the screen scraping wizard. So if you open your UiPath tool, you can clearly see that you find your screen scraping wizard in the design tab of ribbon, and that's how you can use the screen scraping. So I'm going to show you how you can do that. So I'll again go to the flow chart. I'll just create a new sequence, and let's say I rename it to screen scraping, and then I'll connect the start node to the screen scraping sequence. So I'll double click over here, and now what I'll do is I'll just click on the screen scraping, and then I can scrape whatever text that I want, right? So what I'll simply do is I'll open my PDF, all right, and then I'll go back to UiPath tool. I'll choose screen scraping, and then I can mention whatever I want to scrape. Now, before I start scraping, let me tell you that it's always good practice that you mention your PDF document in the actual size. So for that, you go to zoom and fix this to actual size, right? Now let's go back to UiPath tool, click on screen scraping, and then we'll mention whatever we want to scrape, right? So I'll click this particular section. So you can see that this particular section got scraped. Else, if we also want to scrape again, you can just close this particular section again and then mention whatever you want to scrape. So I'll just zoom out, and let's say we're going to scrape the complete first page, right? So I'll go back to screen scraping. I'll choose the complete section, that is from here to here. So I'll just drag, and this opens up preview window. If you're scraping for the first time, let me tell you that these are the various options that the screen scraping wizard offers in the preview window. So this is basically the screen scraping preview wizard that you can see. So on the left hand side, that is basically the scrape result preview, so whatever has been scraped. So this is completely based on the scraping method. So since it was full text, only our text got scraped. Now if I change it to OCR, you can see that the OCR engine is Google OCR. Languages could be whatever language that you want to mention. Characters, I've mentioned any characters, and scale. Now again, if I want to scrape again, what I'll do is I'll again go to UI element, and then I'll choose the complete section. All right. When I choose the complete section again, and when I choose OCR, you can clearly see that the image has also got extracted. So that was about the preview of the screen scraper wizard, guys. So now once you're done dealing with all these properties, you can just click on finish, and this will redirect you to this particular window. So you can see that you've got attach window, do, and whatever has to be scraped, right? So since we have chosen the OCR engine, we've got the workflow like this. Instead, if we would have chosen the scraping method to be full text, we would have got the workflow different. So let me just quickly do that part also. So I'll again create a new sequence, and let's just quickly go into that, and then I'll choose for screen scraping. So let me just open my PDF, and then I'll choose this particular section again. And then I'll choose full text. That means you can clearly see that your image is not got extracted. After that, I'll click on finish. So this will basically redirect me to this particular full text screen scraping workflow. So it's clear that you don't find your OCR engine here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just run this particular workflow, that is basically the OCR one, and I'll click on debug. And you can clearly see that your data is getting scraped, right? Now obviously we cannot see the output because we have not mentioned any message box or a write text file. So for that, what you can simply do is let's just mention a message box so that we see the output. So once you add a message box, whatever output variable was generated in get OCR text, that is basically the AVV view over here. So I'll just copy that and then I'll paste it over here. And what I'll do is I'll change the scope to screen scraping. That is basically the complete sequence, right? So you have to change the scope for the variable. Now, once you're done with that, you can just click on debug to get the output. So let's just wait for it to run. All right, so you can see that it's getting extracted, and now you'll see an output in the message box of all the text, right? So as you can see, the complete text and also the image has got extracted, right? So guys, that's how you can use the screen scraping wizard. So this was also one way to extract large text, guys. So basically, as I mentioned, there are mainly three ways through which you can extract the large text. That is the read PDF activity, the read PDF with OCR activity, and the screen scraping wizard. Now moving on to the next type of PDF activities, that is to extract specific elements. So when you want to extract specific elements, there are again mainly two types of activities that you can use. That is the get text activity and the anchor based activities. So the get text activities are basically used to extract the text in the PDF file, and the anchor based activities are again used to extract the text and the images in the PDF file. So initially, I'm going to show you how you can use the get text activity. So let me just quickly shift back to my UiPath. Then I'll again add a new sequence. And let's say, we rename it to get text activity. So for that, I'll just mention extract specific elements. And what I'll do is I'll open this, and now I'll add the get text activity. So I'll search for get text, and then I'll drag and drop it over here. Let me tell you that your PDF from which you want to extract any particular data or any particular text has to be opened. So for that purpose, what I've done is created a sample invoice to which I'm going to extract specific elements. So let me just shift back to actual size so that you can see. So we have date, invoice, customer ID, and the total amount and the tax due, right? So now I'm going to shift back to my UiPath, and then I'm going to indicate on the screen. So as you can see, we can indicate anything. So let's say, I'm going to indicate total, right? So I'll just choose this total, and you will clearly see that, this particular section has got indicated and would be extracted, right? So now if you want to just, get the output, you can just search for message box. And I'll create a variable for the output. So I'll click on Control K, mention output, and then over here again, I'll mention output. So let me just quickly change the workflow to the extract specific element so that the start node is connected over here. Now let me just quickly click on debug. So before that, make sure that your invoice is open. Right now, I'll again go back to UiPath, and then I'll click on debug. And you can see that you've got the message total. So to make it more apt, let me just extract the total value, that is the 6,600 that you see. So I'll go to this particular option over here. I'll again click on indicate screen, and then I'll choose this particular section, right? So you'll clearly see that this particular value would be extracted. Now I'll again click on debug to show you. So once you click on debug, you can clearly see an output in the message box that this particular value has got extracted, right? So if you clearly observe, this is generally used to get the text value or to just extract a specific element. So in the complete invoice that you had, you can extract anything that you want. I extracted this particular section, so you can either extract the other comment section or the name of the company or the date, the invoice number, the customer ID or due date, or any other such parameter, right? So for the demonstration purposes, I've just extracted this particular section. So that was about the get text activity, guys. Now moving on to the next type of activity, that is the anchor based activity. So as I mentioned before, the anchor based activity is basically used to extract the text and the images in the PDF file. So the anchor based activity basically has two sections, that is basically the anchor and to drop the action activity here. So when I say anchor, in the anchor, you can either use the find element activity or the find image activity. Now the find element activity is basically used to find any element, and the find image activity is specifically used to find the image, right? And the drop action activity over here is basically what you want to give an idea of where the activity is, right? So suppose in our invoice example, what we can do is we can use the find element activity to get the total and the get text activity to extract this particular value, right? So I'm going to show you that how that's happening. So what I'll do is I'll again go back to flowchart, and let's just quickly create a new sequence. And then I'll just rename this particular sequence to anchor example, right? And now I'll just put the start node to this particular activity. And let me just quickly arrange them so that you have a clear understanding. So we started with extract text and extract images. Then we did screen scraping, that is screen scraping text. And now we're doing anchor, right? So I'll just do anchor. So I'm just going to open this particular sequence. And now what I'll do is I'll drag an anchor based activity. So I'll just type in the search bar for anchor, and you'll see that, you can drag and drop this anchor base. Now what you can do is you can drag two activities, that is the anchor and the drop action over here. So initially I'm going to drag and drop the find element activity. So I'll search for find, and you can see that, you can drag and drop this particular activity. And then on the right hand side, I'm going to drag the get text activity. So let me make sure that my PDF files are open. All right, so they're open. Now what I'll simply do is I'll just go to the find element activity. I'll indicate on the screen. So let's say total is what I want to find. And then in the get text activity, I'll just hover my mouse over the 6600 over here. So apart from that, let me tell you one more thing over here. That is, you can play around with the selector. So if you just go to the target section, and then if you choose the selectors, you can clearly see that, you can change as per your need. So if you just want to scan across various PDFs and want to extract the same values, then you can also indicate the elements and play with the selectors. Well, I'm going to leave that part for you so that you guys can explore how you can do it. And if you don't get how to do that, please let me know in the comment section, and I'll tell you how you can do that. So now let me just quickly, add a message box over here so that we can see the output. So I'll just search for message box. So in the section, what I'll do is I'll just mention the output variable. So let's say we mention the output variable to be output. And then in the section, I'll mention the output variable. Now, one more thing that I like to tell you over here is that in the anchor based activity, if you see in the input, you can see the anchor position, right? So whatever text that you want to extract, you can mention the anchor. So for example, over here, we're using the auto, that is by the default, but yes, you can mention the left, top, right, bottom. So if you have your anchor on left, then what text that you want to extract, which is on the left side, on the right side, you can mention like that. So I'm going to just mention left. That is because, the anchor that we have mentioned, total, it is on the left side of whatever value that we want to extract. That is over here, that is 6600. So I'm going to just mention left over here, and then I'm going to click on debug. So once you click on debug, it's clearly seen that, the output is 6600. That is, our data has got extracted, right? So that's how you can use the find element activity to get whatever you want to a specific element or at a specific position. Similarly, you can use the find image activity. So if you just search for the find image activity, you just get this particular activity. You can just drag and drop it over here in this particular section. So I'm just going to, drag and drop it over here. Now over here, you can again indicate on the screen. So I'm going to leave that part for you, but let me just quickly show you how you can indicate it on the screen. So what I'll do is I'll just close this, and then I'll just, indicate it on the screen. Let's say total. And once you mention that, it will understand that, it has to search for this particular image, that is the total. And based on the anchor position on the left hand side, whatever action that you want to do, suppose I want to extract 6600, I'm going to just use the get text activity again. And then you can just select that particular section to extract the values, right? So that's how you can use the find image activity. Also, guys, well, I'm going to leave the find image activity part to you so that you guys can explore. So guys, that's how you can extract various elements, or you can say specific elements using the activities in UiPath. So that's an end to the session. Now, before I just end the session, let me just quickly brief you on all the activities that you've learned. So to extract data from PDFs, there are mainly two types of activities, that is extracting large text and extracting specific elements. So in extracting large text, there are mainly three activities, or you can say two activities and one scraping wizard. So that is the read PDF text activity, mainly used to extract text from the PDFs, and the read PDF with OCR activity, through which you can also extract the images in PDFs. The screen scraping wizard is to just scrape any data that you want, if it's a text or the image based on your need. Now coming to the extracting specific elements, you mainly have two types of activities, that is the get text and the anchor base. The get text is basically again used to indicate element on the screen to get the action, or you can say to get the text. And to use the anchor based activities, the anchor based that mainly consists of two sections, that is the anchor and the drop action activity over here. So in the anchor section, you can use the find element activity and the find image activity to extract any image or the element, and based on that, you can just mention the position, and whatever action has to be mentioned, that can be mentioned in the get text activity. So guys, that's all from my side today. So I hope that you found this session informative. So thank you and have a great day.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!